Hi, this is Caroline from The Happy Sensitive. What I wanted to talk to you about today is a tricky topic that has to do with guilt cycles. So, what I've been noticing is that there's this strange tendency for people to actually use other people's guilt for their own benefit. Now, how this works is that they'll tell you that if you feel guilty, it's because ... insert their ideology. So if you're feeling guilty, it's because of, and they'll give you a really deep explanation that makes you feel even worse about yourself, because you're feeling guilty proves that you are somehow deep down inside really messed up, really fucked up, really problematic. There's something really wrong with that mechanism, that way of thinking, because what happens is actually the people who are prone to feel guilty quickly, these are the people who grew up being told that whatever happened was their fault, and they're too sensitive and they're too emotional and they're too this and too that. And so being taught to feel guilty because they were blamed a lot. So if you were a kid who got blamed a lot at home, you're going to feel guilty a lot, and you're going to feel guilty very easily for no good reason whatsoever. So what happens when there's this ideological movement that comes along that says, oh, we're going to blame you and attack you and make you feel bad. Now you feel guilty. That guilt proves something about, what you believe that has to do with our ideology. Really, really tricky, because it'll feel true, because you'll feel guilty. You'll feel like, oh, there must be a reason why I feel this guilt. But that is actually the kind of childhood thinking that they're amplifying here. When you're a kid, when you get blamed, you always take the blame. You always think, it's got to be me, it's something that I did. You never think, oh, my mother is unstable, my father is just having a bad day, or whatever. Like, you always think, it's my fault. And those are thinking patterns that you internalize. And when you've been told a lot that everything was your fault and you were blamed a lot, then when somebody out there replicates something of that childhood, looks at you the same way, talks to you the same way, like yells at you the same way, all that can get activated, and you can feel very, very guilty all of a sudden, and it can seem like there must be a really good reason why, right? So if then that same person who was blaming you says, ha, I can see it in your eyes, you feel guilty, and let me tell you why, whatever they're going to tell you after the why is going to seem to make a lot of sense, but it doesn't actually necessarily make sense at all. Now, this is a really nasty mechanism that a lot of people are exploiting, because they're finding that it works. It's very easy to blame people, and it's very easy to blame a certain kind of people. It's very easy to blame people who feel responsible for the world, who are kind at heart, who have a traumatic upbringing where they were told that everything was their fault and they're always wrong and they're always bad. And all that together is going to make that if you fit that profile, it's very easy for people to convince you that if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling guilty, it proves something about what a horrible human being you are, and now you have to step into their ideology, you have to step into their cult, you have to step into their church, you have to step into their frame of reference to work on yourself, right? Whereas in reality, probably what's happening is you got yelled at in the same way you got yelled at as a kid, and those same ways of thinking and feeling came up, and this is actually a chance for you to work through that and look it in the eye. But if you get really caught up in like, oh my God, this person's blaming me and they're mad at me and I did something wrong and how do I fix it? You can get caught up in believing the ideologies that you're fed and believing the wrongdoings that, according to them, you have deep down inside. So, something to be aware of. I've noticed this going on. I've been kind of thinking about it, like, how do I frame this? How do I explain this? I think this is really important to recognize. Of course, it doesn't mean that if you feel guilty, it's never about anything. But you got to be really mindful of people who are just very good at finding your buttons, making you feel guilty and saying, ha, that's why. You could feel guilty for the most stupid reasons that have nothing to do with whatever that person is blaming you for. All right, I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks so much for listening. This is Caroline from The Happy Sensitive. Bye-bye. So let's take a look at the Happy Sensitive library. This is the overview page from the outside.
What the library is a place where I put all the resources that are helpful for highly sensitive people and empaths that I think you can do on your own. I put meditations in there, step-by-step practices, I give you tips, and I talk about the kinds of things that you don't usually find online that goes beyond just calm down, just do yoga, just meditate. And I really give you the nitty-gritty of what I've discovered about how you can go from highly sensitive to happy sensitive.
What a difference a camera makes. 24 frames per second. And it is so much easier to shoot anything, and I can actually see myself on the screen if I look to the side, so I don't have to like fidget and set things up. I don't have to fidget with a million different lamps. I tried that with my previous camera. So hopefully this will look a lot better with a lot less work for me.